you know, his bio, I was so thrilled when he agreed to come speak to us, because Dan has been one of the leaders in being one of the youngest but best trial attorneys in California for these past many years. And to watch him grow his solo practice in the last couple of years has been astounding. I've known him for a long time. And we talked earlier about trust, and people hire clients who trust them. I think Dan is one of those people who, when you say, you know, I need a lawyer, and you're gonna get a lawyer, and you're gonna get your lawyer, and he's going to be for you. I think client relations and knowing, you know, your clients is something that Dan has just excelled in, and just beyond words. So there's amazing accomplishments in this bio. I urge you to read them. But without further ado, I'm gonna let Dan take over and tell you all about what he's done to grow his firm and get clients to absolutely be the best and get the best representation that they can.
You know, it's funny. A few weeks back, right after Aaron called me and asked me to speak here, I was having a rough week. One of those tough business weeks where things kind of all go wrong. And I had a moment of a crisis in conscience. And I just had a big verdict. I just got an appellate ruling taking away the whole verdict. I'd spent like hundreds of thousands of dollars in no money, all gonna go away. I had my bookkeeper emails me and calls me and says, we've been hacked, someone transferred $12,000 from your operating account. We had a laptop go down for the clerk that was just starting and she had no computer. I had some of my team members were having some health issues and I was worried about them. It was tough. It was rough, but I remember I was like sitting at my desk, kind of overlooking, we're in Westwood, and just overlooking some buildings, and I thought, for a moment I was thinking, God, what if I just had worked for a firm? What if I just, sent my resume or reached out to some friends at big plaintiffs firms and said, hey, I can be your trial lawyer. All these headaches all go away. That money that I lose in this case, that's not mine. That laptop, I don't have to worry about it. The staff, they'll get taken care of by somebody else. And I was sitting there just thinking, like, God, that'd be kind of nice. But as I'm looking out the window, just kind of at the base of this window, there's one of those burial flags with a triangle case, military burial flags. And I was thinking about the man whose flag that was. And that man grew up in rural North Carolina, southeastern North Carolina, didn't have much money. He was the oldest of four. When he was around 2 or 3 years old, his parents had to send him away to his grandparents and his uncle to raise him in Hamlet, North Carolina. If you picture the movie Fried Green Tomatoes, it's like that, but smaller. It's a railroad town, one stop, and he was sent there to live. No one in his family went to college. When he was in high school, the English teacher stopped teaching him English because his English was so bad. He was born in America, but his English was so bad that they stopped teaching it to him. His plan in life was never to make much money, never to go to college, but was to work on the railroads and play baseball. That's all he wanted to do. But then December 7th, 1941 happens. And like so many young men of that generation, his life was changed forever. America was under attack. He immediately goes to the enlistment office, signs up, says, I want to go. I want to go to Europe. I want to fight the tyranny that is Nazi Germany. So he signs up, and they put him in the paratrooper division. So he's flown out to the Battle of Bulge. He's jumping into enemy lines into German-occupied France and Russia and Poland. And he's fighting against this tyranny because he believed in it. And then, 1945, the war's over, and he comes back to America. Goes back to that same small town in southeastern North Carolina, and he meets a woman who was much better looking than he was. He wasn't much of a looker. She was a beautiful woman. And they met at a dance and another dance, and he says to her, I'm going to be a lawyer, and I'm going to marry you. That was the two promises he made. So through the GI Bill, this man who wasn't passing English class, he goes to school. And through the GI Bill, he goes to law school. And right after, he hangs a shingle. He says, I have learned so much in this world, fighting the bad guys in Europe and winning a war. I don't want to work for somebody else. I want to be my own person. I want to create my own destiny. And that was his fire. And he accomplished most of those things, married that woman for his entire life. He then raised 4 children, one of which is my mother. And his passion in life was independence, was being his own boss, setting his own way, controlling his own destiny and his family. He was never the most successful lawyer. He went from practicing like they did back in the 50s and 60s. He was doing a trust one day, a murder trial the next. I mean, handling anything and everything under the sun. But he was always home in time for dinner. Because his family meant everything to him. But so did that independence. So as I'm sitting there, looking out the window and just thinking of him, I almost want to slap myself. Like, why would I even think that? Look at what I've built. Look at what my team, look where we've come from, and what is my fire? Why did I do this? And every single person in here has a reason. What is your why? What is that fire in your belly? You could be, maybe you're a single mom who didn't have a choice. And you had to raise your kids, and you need the flexibility that the big firm wasn't providing you. Maybe you're an immigrant. Maybe you're children of immigrants who came here, and you wanted a better life, and you wanted to say to your parents who sacrificed a lot to come here, look, you can make it in America. My name is on this business. Your last name is on this business. Look what I've done. Maybe you were forced out of your law firm. Whatever your reason is, never lose it. Never, ever lose it when you're having those dark times. Maybe those dark days turn into weeks and months, but there's a reason you're doing this. There's a reason you chose to take that leap and gamble on yourself. And so, as I'm sitting there, I quickly snapped into it, said, with all these dark times come great times. And whatever your reason is, don't lose it. Now, my journey, like so many of yours, was definitely not a straight line here. In law school, when I was a third year, I wanted to be a transactional attorney. I was taking like tax, mergers and acquisitions, everything I could to become a transactional attorney, working at a big firm, making deals. My first job out of law school, I was defending car wreck cases. So I was working for a big insurance defense company or firm, and I was loving it. They put me in the courtroom right away. It was so far from all the stuff I thought I was going to be doing when I practiced, but they got me in the courtroom. So I was defending car crash cases. Did that for 3 or 4 years until 2012. And I remember I had all these big defense verdicts and so excited. And I had one final defense verdict. My last trial at the firm was a nice, sweet teacher was rear-ended, went to the hospital, and I defensed it. She got nothing. And I remember calling my mom after, just kind of bragging. And she said, oh, yeah, that's my 7th defense verdict in a row. And she's like, slow down, cowboy. There's nothing that can humble, no one that can humble you quite like your mom. And, she was just thinking, she's like, that's great, that's nice, but, are you passionate about that? Like, are you really, was that real justice? I mean, the attorney on the other side, he was inexperienced, didn't really know what he was doing, he never tried a case. And she was just like, is that real, true justice? And as I started to really internalize that and think about that, and I started to realize, what am I doing? And no offense to anyone that does insurance work, it's honorable work. But for me, I was like, I saved the insurance company a few $100,000. But was that really justice? The woman was injured, and the jury gave her nothing. So in 2012, with 2 partners, one of which did entertainment, transactional, the other business litigation, and I was jumping over to go from plaintiff with lots of trial experience, or defense with lots of trial experience to plaintiff work. So I was like a 10th year in trial experience, but I was at 0 year in terms of plaintiff experience. So we did this leap. And our business model was you have the hourly transactional, you have business litigation that's gonna do some plaintiff, some defense, and then me, I'm gonna get these big hits every once in a while. And the three of us had no money, zero money. Where's the account? Ryan, he was saying, don't start in debt. I wish I didn't have to, but man, we were all broke. We all had, I was like 120 grand in law school debt. We had to get a line of credit. We dipped into it about 100 grand. Thank God I had the hourly attorney partners because I wouldn't have survived. I would have gone in more debt. But at the same time, thank God we did. And thank God I took that. Thank God I jumped off that ledge. And I wasn't scared. And we weren't scared. So in the first 6 months, we had no staff. It took us a half a day to send a fax. It's like, have you ever seen the movie Zoolander? You know, at the end where they're trying to do the computer, like Ben Affleck and Owen Wilson are trying to figure out how a computer works? That was us. It's like, no, it's the red button, it's the green button, come on! And we didn't have any other work, so it really wasn't pushing us from not making money because we didn't have any other work. But, we've all been there, right? It's just figuring out what the hell to do. Didn't hire anyone for a while. But I remember there was kind of 2 moments in my early career that helped define who I am and give me confidence, because I think a lot of us have imposter syndrome in one way or another. I think I still kind of have it, to be honest, where you just think am I good enough for this? Can I really handle a case? And I remember 2 months into us opening our firm, I get a call from an old law clerk of ours. And he says, my grandmother's best friend's husband just got killed. And so I had never handled a plaintiff's case. I was 2 months in. This is a wrongful death case, killed by a Safeway truck that had crushed him to death. Terrible, tragic, it was awful. And it just broke my heart hearing it. And I remember I went and met with the widow at her house. First, right away, just met with her. And this is probably a week after the crash. And I remember walking in and, she was probably in her late 70s. She was tearful, but she was so strong. I remember sitting with her and she's holding my hand and I asked her, I said, tell me about Don. She said, well, my Don, he loved his family. As soon as the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, he enlisted in the military. He became a pilot in Europe. And she's telling me this story, and tears are filling her eyes. Tears are obviously filling my eyes, and I'm just how is this possible? My grandfather had passed about 8 years before. And one of the first cases I'm getting is it's like I'm talking to my grandmother. And I just fell in love with this family. Had that connection that so many of us have with our clients that I never had before. And that's when I knew, I said, it was nice working for the insurance company and doing that, but this is what I want to do. This is my fire. Protecting her so that she can be taken care of. Her Dawn took care of everything for the house. What is she going to do? How's she going to get by for the next 20 years of her life? And so I knew that we had to protect her against this corporation, but I didn't have the experience. So I had to bring in my good buddy, Robert Glassman from Tanish's office. But I said, I'm not just handing this to you. I want to work this case. And young lawyers out there, if you have a case that you think may be a little too big for you, insist on that. That is the only way you're going to learn. That's the only way you're going to be great. Don't just hand it off. Unless your model is to refer cases, that's fine. I'll give you my email after. But, no, I'm kidding. But honestly, if you want to do this work, you have to be a part of it. And you have to insist upon that. And don't go with a firm that's going to say no. That knowledge is worth way more than 3 years of law school. So I did that, and we took deposition after deposition, and Rob Glass and I were ready to try the case. We were 4-year attorneys, ready to go up against a big corporation. We were ready to go. The case settled for a good amount of money right before trial, and she was taking care of the rest of her life. The next case, that was a couple years later, that really really did, I think, change my own perception myself was 2 good friends from law school had never tried a case before. I had never done an employment case before. But they call me and they say that, our client was working in the garment industry and he was injured on the job. This big fancy jeans company fired him. And so they come to me and they say, do you want to try the case together? I said, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know employment you do. They don't know how to try cases. So I come in and this man came from Mexico, came from nothing. And the attorneys on the other side, talk about big firm Ivy League. These guys were bow tie, white shoe, just everything you can imagine. Everything that everyone in this room is not. This is what they were. And they let us know. They're like, oh, Southwestern, talking shit about that. Oh, solo firm, blah, 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 blah. And every time, throughout trial, offering 0. Well, we took them to trial, 17-day trial. We win, we get punitive damages, take it to the Supreme Court, get a multi-million-dollar judgment against them. In those moments, I don't mean to brag about a verdict or anything like that, but what it taught me to myself was that you can go up against the biggest and the best. Don't be scared of a big firm or act like I'm just a solo, I'm too small. You're not. If you outwork them, you out-prepare them, you can win. So don't be scared of it. So those were the 2 moments in my career that I think taught me that you can do this. And then the firm we had to break up because doing that many different things was really tough for marketing. And then in 2020, I launched Kramer Trial Lawyers with my now partner, Teresa Johnson. Because we wanted to have a hyper-focused, all we do is trials. All we want to do is be in trial. And that's all we want to do. But do I worry? All the time. 2 weeks ago, like I said, I get scared. What if I get a string of losses? What if I have a string of cases that the appellate court takes away? What happens then? Things aren't all, things are nice and rosy when you hear about the big verdicts, but that doesn't mean there's money in the bank. I get scared. But I always have to go back to that place of why am I doing this? I'm doing this because I am competitive as hell and I love to win, and because I love these clients. And whatever that is in you, if you are that single mother raising a daughter, and you are you're taking that leap into your own firm, you are teaching her that in this male-dominated world, women can succeed. And women can be great. If you're that immigrant, you go back, your family goes back to wherever they're from or tells their siblings there, look what my son or daughter has done. There is hope here. And each of you have a reason. Either maybe you're with the firm and you're thinking about it. Take the leap. You're here. I've heard the questions you all are asking. You are all engaged. Really smart questions. Smart, brilliant people here who are teaching you how to launch your firm. Don't be scared. Take that leap. So I just want to say thank you to LACBA. Thank you to the small firm section. You are all in here inspirations to young attorneys, young men and women out there who are scared. You are all inspirational, always encouraging, saying you can do it. Thank you.